While the term corporate social responsibility might be a relatively new one, its precepts and values have been around since the Industrial Revolution. Our next guest, Aron Cramer, has been in the field for over 20 years. He's the president and CEO of BSR, a company that works with its global network of nearly 300 member companies to help build a just and sustainable world. Aron is a man dedicated to change, and we welcome him now. Aron, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you on today.
I'm glad to be joining you.
How do you, as the CEO of BSR, define best practices? And do you find that these practices differ from country to country and continent to continent?
Well, when it comes to sustainability, it's a consistently evolving area of business, and so best practices change from year to year. But we look for companies who are really exhibiting leadership and delivering very strong value both for their business and also for the wider world.
And for you to determine that a company is exhibiting best practices, do they have to do that across all the CSR touchpoints, or can they excel in certain areas over other areas?
Well, the most important thing for any company is to focus on strategy, and that's certainly true with respect to sustainability. So we look for companies that are focusing on the things that are most relevant to their business, their products, their consumers, the markets in which they operate. And if they focus on the things that are most relevant to them, then sustainability is going to be more deeply embedded into their business. And that's really what I think most companies today are aiming for.
Now, I know a lot of BSR's focus is in a national arena. Do you find that Asian and European companies are further ahead than their U.S. counterparts when it comes to CSR?
The thing that has really changed in the last 5 years is that corporate responsibility has become a truly global aspect of business. And so we find many more companies in Asia, in Latin America, and Africa, and the Middle East active in this area, whereas once it was really something that was most strongly developed in the United States and Europe.
What are the U.S. counterparts? What can they learn from their other companies in Asia and Europe?
Well, we live in a global marketplace, and so American companies operating in Asia can learn quite a lot from Asian companies in terms of how to understand local employees, local needs, local communities, local environmental conditions. And so companies who look to learn from local partners and maybe even local competitors are likely to have a much more successful approach to sustainability than those who take a very parochial view of the subject.
Mm-hmm. Let's address some of the cultural sensitivities that you encounter when dealing in foreign markets.
Well, companies operating globally deal with the same issues around the world, whether it's water, whether it's fair labor conditions, whether it's climate and energy. But they do so with local concerns very much in mind. If you take China, for example, food safety is an issue that's very important for companies in the agriculture business or the restaurant business, whereas in the United States it's a topic that typically doesn't raise as many questions. And so you have to think globally but also apply principles in terms of what the most important needs are of the local communities you're trying to reach.
But clearly, though, Aron, transparency, a dedication to being transparent, is not equal in all countries. I mean, we just saw that with Walmart in Mexico, where in Mexico it's not out of the norm to pay for business, but here in the United States it's downright illegal. See the same thing with the concept of fair wages. Not every country is going to be committed to paying, a minimum wage.
Well, the fact is that standards are globalizing, whether it's on bribery and corruption, whether it's on labor practices, whether it's on best environmental practices, and transparency is truly global. And so if you're operating a Fortune 500 company, it's extremely risky not to apply comparable standards around the world. Now, the economics may vary from one place to the next. The minimum wage in Thailand isn't the same as the minimum wage in Texas, but the need to think about ensuring that minimum wages are paid, that is something that is truly a global expectation, and companies that deviate from global principles find themselves getting into trouble.
Mm-hmm. Share with our listeners, if you would, how you work with your members. I mean, I know your team rolls up their sleeves and really gets into the mud. What does that look like?
We really try to do three basic things. First, we work with companies at board and C-suite level to help develop sustainability strategies that will serve their business strategies well. Second, we work with companies to implement, whether it's applying labor or environmental principles in supply chains, working in mining areas with local communities, working in agricultural situations to develop local enterprises. So we do roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty. The third thing we do is we build coalitions, business coalitions inside industries, and also very powerful partnerships between businesses and non-governmental organizations, community organizations, the public sector, to help come up with collaborative solutions that often can make the biggest difference in advancing towards sustainability goals.
Would you mind sharing with our listeners some of your greatest accomplishments in terms of implementing purposeful change with the clients that you work with?
Sure. Well, one of the projects that we're particularly proud of is something called the HER Project, where we've worked with a variety of companies to help ensure that the literally millions of women workers in global supply chains have access to health information and health care. We like to think of supply chains as an opportunity for people really to improve their lives and their livelihoods. And we've been very proud to work with a variety of companies like Levi Strauss & Company and Nordstrom and a lot of local partners around the world to deliver better health care to women working in garment factories and working in agricultural environments. So that's one project that I'm particularly proud of.
Gotcha. Aron, well, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on our show today.
Thanks very much, Mark. I've enjoyed it.
That was Aron Cramer, President and CEO of Business for Social Responsibility, or BSR, here exclusively on Best Practices in Corporate Social Responsibility.